Hi, I'm Claire Powell from Kit McGrath Tuition Centre in Scunthorpe. I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about the 11 Plus exam. I've spent 13 years preparing students for the 11 Plus exam, and every year I'm surprised when parents ask 6 weeks before the exam to prepare their child for the exam. Often parents are not aware of what the exam involves, and so I'm just going to spend a little bit time going through what's involved in the 11 Plus exam if you've got a child who wants to sit the exam. So just a few facts about 11 Plus. These facts are national facts, so they're not based on any one school. But what we do know is that there is increased competition for grammar school places and private school places. And with the recent school shutdowns, some of the children who will be sitting the exam in September 2021 will have had less schooling than normal, but will be expected to achieve the same level in the exam. So on average, only 45% of children pass the 11 Plus exam. And in most schools, there's just one place for every 3 or 4 successful candidates. We do have some information about the Gainsborough Grammar School as they publish their results, and frequently they have 600 plus children sit the exam, and there are 180-ish places. So is your child prepared? Quite often the grammar schools advise that children don't have tuition for the 11 Plus exam as they want to test the child's natural ability. However, we've worked with a large number of students. Some went on to score very highly in the 11 Plus exam. We've had students who have gained scholarships at private schools, and we had one student who scored 100% on an 11 Plus exam. And those students, even the brightest of students, said that had they had no tuition, they would have not completed the paper in the time limit. So it's not just being able to do the skills, it's being able to do them at speed. Of all the big events that you have in life, such as passing a driving test, sitting GCSE exams, planning a wedding, planning a holiday, which we're all dreaming of at some point in the future, all these events are planned, and as such, having a child sit an 11 Plus exam should have some planning. So every year I get asked, when should my child start preparing for the 11 Plus exam? So your child needs to be in the top 25% of children for their age group to be successful at not only passing the exam, but managing in a grammar school. So grammar school is not for everybody. We have students who start with us in year 3 and year 4 that basically work on improving vocabulary, reading comprehension, math skills, writing skills, spelling skills. We start the 11 Plus verbal and non-verbal reasoning preparation in the January of year 5, and the children will sit the exam in the September of year 6. We do have children who join us throughout the year. So we have some children who will join in April, and we've even had students who have done an intense course in the summer holidays and pass the exam. But really, my advice would be to start preparing in January so that it becomes a natural skill. So if you decide that your child is sat in the top 25% for their age, it's often worth talking to class teachers to see whether or not they think that a grammar school is a suitable option for your child. What exams are they going to sit? So if they want to sit the grammar school exam for Queen Elizabeth High School in Gainsborough, the school require 2 exam papers. The first is a verbal reasoning paper, which is often has a lot of language skills, similar meanings, opposite meanings, connections between words, odd ones out. There's a small amount of math skills, usually the 4 main operations, finding links between numbers, and continuing patterns. There is not a separate maths paper for Gainsborough, but it's part of the verbal reasoning. And there's a large amount of the paper which involves various types of code cracking, which usually requires very precise teaching so that the students are able to do those in an exam room. That paper is a multiple choice paper, and it takes the format of a GL assessment. So if you're looking for practice papers or books to have a look at preparing, then you want a GL assessment, verbal reasoning, multiple choice paper. The second paper students who wish to sit for Gainsborough is a non-verbal reasoning, and it now includes spatial reasoning. So this, when you get the papers or the books, looks like a book of pictures. So it tests students' logic spatial reasoning. So it asks them to find the next shape in a series, the odd one out, a missing piece as a jigsaw. Some of the spatial reasoning requires them to look at bird's eye view, mirror images, rotations, looking at nets and working out what those nets will look like if they're folded up. So again, it's a different set of skills. That paper is also a multiple choice paper, and it's also a GL assessment format. If your child wishes to sit the Caister Grammar School, Caister require 2 papers. So one is a verbal reasoning multiple choice paper, and the second paper is a standard verbal reasoning paper. So similar skills but different formats. What we've noticed with Caister is that they require a higher level of mastery, and often the language and the logic skills required to score high enough for Caister is more difficult than the Gainsborough paper in our experience. It's worth, so those are the 2 main grammar schools that we've prepared for. We've also prepared students for Horncastle, and there was a school in London that we prepared for. We've prepared students for a number of private schools in the area, including Hill House at Doncaster, Hullheimers, Lincoln Minster, and the Pocklington Grammar School as well. So it's worth checking with the school that your child is sitting the exam for as to what the requirements are. Some of the private schools require verbal reasoning and or non-verbal reasoning, and they often require a reading paper, a writing paper, and a maths paper. Gainsborough and Caister only require verbal for Caister and verbal and non-verbal reasoning for Gainsborough. Once your child has sat the 11+ exam, you obviously then wait for the results. Gainsborough part of the Lincolnshire Grammar School Consortium, so it's the same exam paper that sat across most of the grammar schools in Lincolnshire. They require a standardised score of 220 as a pass mark. Every child who achieves that pass mark of 220 as a standardised score, who lives within a 9-mile radius of the school, will be offered a place first. Siblings are also given preference. After that, the places that are left are basically allocated on a highest score. So if you live further away from Gainsborough Grammar School than 9 miles, your child will need to score as high as they can to gain a place. If your child sits the exam for Caister, Caister run their own exam, so they're independent of any other grammar school. Their scoring system is done internally, and again, if you live in a 6-mile radius, I think it's 6.5 actually, a 6.5-mile radius of Caister, and your child passes the exam, then they will be allocated a place. If you live further away than that, your child will have to score as high as they can. For Gainsborough, that's usually out of catchment. Children are usually aiming for about 85%. For Caister, children out of catchment need to be scoring 90% and higher. If you do have any questions about the 11 plus and you want any further information, do contact us. Check out our website for resources. Give us a call. We'd be more than happy to answer any questions and look at how we can assist you further.